What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Cork to Glory. This is episode number 46. I'll start today's stuff with the details of Troy Parrott's injury, and as you can see, after the aerial collision with Presnel Kimpembe in the last game against Liverpool, unfortunately it's bad news for Troy. He's out for 2 months, dislocated his shoulder. Now typical of that is all the players that could have got a 2-month injury this season, it's our club record signing, Troy Parrott. Typical, right? But one of those things. And he's not been like exactly spectacular this season. Of course, he is playing on the left wing, and as we know, he's a striker, so naturally he's had to adjust to a totally different position and role this season. But he's done okay, to be fair, in the game time he's had. However, we won't see him again now until around March time. February? March? Yeah, let's say February. Still finding out we had a draw for the FA Cup third round, and also Barry Sharkey coming to us as well and saying, thanks for talking to me about the dressing room issues. And, you know, just real briefly on this, I want to talk about this real briefly. You see the first game here away in London against David Moyes' West Ham. You know, I think it is good that EA have added these sort of player interactions into the game. It is a step up, definitely, no doubt about it, but sometimes it's just a little bit trivial, and it doesn't really seem to mean anything. I've mentioned this before, this particular player interaction before. It seems like when you start a season off, and you start off relatively poorly, you know, or just not on fire, oftentimes you'll get that player interaction, your captain coming to you and saying, there's dressing room issues, and then when you sort it out, they'll just say, yeah, it's all good now. And it's like nothing really changes. Like, you don't notice that the whole team's collective morale drops during that period of time. You don't see players like possibly leaking stuff to the media in the news screen and possibly like submitting transfer requests. It's just a little bit arbitrary, and I think EA still have a lot more work to do on player interactions, making them more meaningful, and meaning your responses are more, I guess more sort of like that they can change what happens to the players and the teams and so on and so forth. But yeah, still, regardless, the first game this episode was a loss against West Ham away 2-1. We were leading through Cunningham, and I was leading for like the entire game. I was playing some really good defense, which you'll be shocked to hear. But late on in the game, Jarrod Bowen scores the first and then gets the second as well. And I've mentioned this before, I find it so hard to just make a bloody tackle in this year's FIFA. The AI, because of competitor mode, they do so many little drag backs. The ball is basically stuck to their foot, like they've got Velcro on their boots. It is actually really hard to make a tackle without committing a foul. And yeah, unfortunately, it's just the case there for, well, basically both of the goals as Bowen's 2. And he's one of the top scorers in the Premier League, Jarrod Bowen, right now. Gets the goals in the win for West Ham. And so for the second game of today's episode is we're closing out December. Manchester City, Jesus, also one of the top scorers in the Premier League right now, taking one at Turner's Cross. I was doing alright in this game as well. I had a really weak lineup out there due to the fixture congestion. It always comes around in December. And again, I was doing okay. I was doing alright, but so often this season, and it happens once again, like I start games off alright for the most part. I can normally do quite well in the first half, but in the second half, things do start to fall apart a little bit. I do lose my discipline as well on the defensive end, and I think there is something to that as well, not just a mentality sort of thing, but the players not physically being at the level and mentally at the level of some of the teams in this division. Again, we're a new team, you know, we're a newly promoted team to the Premier League, so I guess realistically, that kind of makes sense. So for the third game this episode, taking on Crystal Palace here, really wanted to bounce back with a win now. The win really needed it as well. Early on, Leo Yates hits the bar from a corner, and then Marciano makes it 1-0 a few minutes later. I was thinking, for goodness sake, when are we going to get a win again? We can't buy a bloody point in the Premier League right now. Palace make it 1-0. But looking to respond here right before the break, Ryan Devine storming down the right, rolls it into Bell through to Cunningham. Quick little ball through to Dylan McGlade. He finds Galvin, and you would have noticed heading into the game as well, the two guys we had on the wing, as this was the final game of December. Dylan McGlade on the right, Galvin on the left, as this would be their final game for the club. So I thought, do you know what, I've got to go on my Season 1 OGs, the only two players that have still been here since the very first episode. Yeah, I gave the guys starts, and how cool it was they linked up for our equalising goal right before the break there. That was so cool, like a little throwback. And then right after the restart, 3 minutes into the second half, Samuel Bell, God, did he need that? He hasn't scored since September. My word, it's been a long goal drought for Bell, the longest of his career at Turner Turner's cross, but that one was as important as it gets because he fires in the game winner. We come from behind and finally get a win notched up to close out December. So as the calendar year ends, as you can see, we're one game past the halfway point in the Premier League, 20 games played now. Liverpool clear of Man City by 4 points at the top. Spurs and Aston Villa wrap up the top four. That win there, as you can see, does put us into 15th place, 4 points ahead of Crystal Palace, 1 behind Fulham in 14th, and we're 9 clear of Brighton in 18th place. Brentford remain winless and rooted to the bottom of the table with just the 8 points so far. But yeah, we're still quite a few points off the drop zone, but again, due to a pretty poor patch of form, despite the win against Crystal Palace there, we're far from feeling safe. And it's quite frustrating too, because when we started the season off, I was like, we'll be fine, no relegation dogfight. But to be honest, now that the gap is single digits between us and 18th place, yeah, I've got to be honest, with Troy Parrott going out for 2 months as well, I'm starting to rethink possibly my expectations at the start of the season. I was targeting like 11th to 14th place. Well, at the moment we're not there, we're behind there, or below there I should say. But there's a long way to go as well. But regardless, as the January transfer window does officially open, as you can see, our assistant manager lets us know that Galvin and McGlade, two of the official OGs of this Cork City team, have officially left us. So farewell to the boys in their late 20s. I love McGlade going to Fratton Park. I don't know why, I just think that's really cool. But yeah, the two sales there mean our budget for the January window is now 14.5 mil. And it really is the end of the era, like officially now. Like there is no player in this Cork City team that was here when we inherited the side. They were the last two players to leave. They go in season 5, and yeah, well, I mean, what a way for them to be with us all the way from League 2 to our first year in the Premier League, and for them to combine for a goal in their final appearance for the club at Turner's Cross. Come on, man, that is just so cool. But still, as you can see, we have a scouting update and academy update as we enter the first of the month as well. And as you can see here, there's a couple of players here from Ireland. Look, I'll just be honest here, Ruse is going to get a pro deal very soon. I know I say it like every single episode. This guy's amazing. 89, 94 potential. Such a high overall. He looks like a great inside forward. And you probably will sit there thinking like, we'll promote him then. I give him a pro deal. Hurry up and do it. I promise. Either the next episode or maybe the episode after that, I'll definitely do it because he deserves one, and I can't wait to see just what his potential is. And a look at January as well. Our fixtures coming this month. You can see we've got Leicester away in the FA Cup third round at the King Power Stadium. Sheffield United, Man City away, Arsenal, and also Everton as well in the month of January. So some very tough games coming in the next few weeks. And for our first game of the calendar year, we didn't exactly start off with fireworks. We had a goalless draw away at Bramall Lane against Sheffield United, one of the teams that will do well to stay up this season. And for the penultimate game of today's episode, this was the FA Cup third round against Leicester. Obviously last season I was gutted that we ended going out in the fourth round to Barnsley away at Oakwell, because of course the previous two rounds we made it to the round of 16 only to be knocked out by Spurs and Liverpool respectively. So I was thinking, this is a tough tie here away at Leicester, and we haven't won an FA Cup game away from home yet. Against the Premier League side, I should say. So this is going to be a real test, and we managed to come through with a 1-0 victory. So back-to-back clean sheets. That's really nice to see, considering how poor my defense has been this season. Eamon Cunningham with the only goal in that game, and yes, I know it was a cutback goal. And obviously, I have scored quite a few cutback goals in this series. And of course, my OG, I never like to say the word fans, my OG followers would know, as we reject this massive bid here for Rory Devine from Nuno's Wolves. My OG followers would know that I never used to score cutback goals basically ever, but I think due to the difficulty increase over the years, I'm not as good at playing FIFA as I used to be, and I'm more than happy to admit that. Sometimes I just have to do it. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to be honest here. Sometimes I just have to do it, including in that game, to make sure I get the result I wanted. I don't want to do it. I feel kind of guilty doing it as well, but every now and then I think, you know what, sod it, I just got to be sweaty, man. I need a goal, and I desperately need a win as well. So for the FA Cup fourth round, delighted with that, and we'll see the tie and the draw in the very next episode. And for our final game of today's episode, away at the Etihad against one of the front runners for the Premier League title this season and the current champions in the game, Manchester City as well. I started this game off in attack mode. I started off on the front foot thinking, come on, we're trying to get our form sorted and we're playing okay at the moment, so why not go at Guardiola's side and see what we can do. We were brave right from the very first whistle, testing Ederson, great save, it was still 0-0, but then Bell did volley in the opening goal of the game as we led at the Etihad Stadium. We haven't had a scalp throughout the course of the series so far against one of the traditional top 6. I thought this might be the game, but unfortunately not. 12 minutes after the restart, Man City back on level terms as it's 1-1. But with 9 minutes to go, Devine finds Bell through to the man of the moment, Cunningham round Ederson, hurdles, stays on his feet, stops, turns, shoots and saved by the Brazilian. And look at the reaction. That reaction that Cunningham has there is exactly the same one I had in my bloody bedroom, man. I swear, I thought I just scored the game winner at the Etihad Stadium against the champions. Rounded the goalkeeper. He did so as stay on his feet, Cunningham, as well, but Ederson got back to his feet so quickly, recovered to make the save, and in the end, we had to settle for a point. But listen, a point away at the Etihad Stadium, you know I'm going to take that. We've stood up to the big boys really well this season. We had points against Chelsea and Spurs and now Manchester City as well. We're improving all the time, and so whilst January is here, I don't expect major moves in this transfer window. This team's growing, it's gelling, and we're doing really well for our first season. Well, this is the Court to Glory, guys. Big thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then please drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the very next episode very soon.